How would you like to learn how to use Bookmap to identify high probability targets that can be used in conjunctions with normal support and resistance levels? Then on top of that, throw in gamma exposure levels, not only for entries, but also for price targets. All right, so let's go ahead and start off this trading exercise real quick. Let's say in that we're trading right here on December 8th. And what's one of the first things we want to do? Well, we want to go ahead and mark off some key support and resistance levels. You can see right here, this was a turn point in the market from the prior day. We can also mark off the one right up in here as well. And you can see that morning we came right up there and we end up going level to level on the day. However, that's only one part of the equation because we don't necessarily want to just buy as we get into a level. But then as we look at where this level is actually formed, notice we have this yellow line right here. You can see it has a little tag right there by it saying HVL, meaning high volatility level. Quite often, if we get below that, that's when the bullish to the bearish sentiment can also shift in the market. And when we're below it, we can get some of those waterfall effect type of days. However, in this example, I'm going to show you that we had an HVL level right up here as well, but this one was a 0 DTE. And that's going to be important because not only can we use this for potential entries, but it's going to come in importance as we go look at targets in the future. Now, as we came down towards a level, we don't just simply want to go ahead and place a trade because we touched a simple level. Instead, we want to add confluence to that trade. So in this example, we're going to look at Bookmap and look at what we had right down here at the price point of 25,600. You can see we had a level of liquidity. If we scroll this over real quick, we can see there's roughly 56 contracts sitting there before the market actually went down there and took it. And I want you guys to pay very close attention. On Bookmap, look at the size of the bubble. This is one of the larger bubbles that we've seen as this move has been in a little bit of a downtrend. Now, this is going to be important. Quite often, we'll see outsized bubbles either at the bottom or at the top right before we start to get a rejection back the other way. So now look, we're starting to form a thesis of why we think the market could bounce. One, we have the support resistance zone right here. Number two, we have a gamma exposure level as well. If you look at where that gamma exposure level is, it actually comes in right there at 25,600. And you can see right down here, we actually overshoot it a little bit and actually overshoot even the 25,600 price point before ultimately going up. And that's why I say it's important. Don't just simply have a buy order just resting there. We want to see confirmation that the market has a good chance of turning. And as we come over real quick and we take a look at Bookmap, notice as we came down there, we had that large bubble. Now, just because we have a large bubble does not necessarily mean the market has to turn from that point. I said earlier, quite often the market will turn from that point, but it is not a has to turn event. But one of the clues that we can also look at to increase the probabilities that we can be put on the right side of the trade is we have a large red bubble like this and the market was coming down. Once we start getting back above that bubble, we can then look to go long and look at that price point. The top of that bubble is going to be right around 25,603. Now we come back over and we look at the conventional 30-minute chart real quick. What do we have at 603? Well, 603 is very close towards the GEX level. Now, one thing I want you guys to pay attention to when we're looking at GEX levels, they are more like zones, areas in the chart, not a specific price point. When we're looking at Bookmap and looking at the liquidity, this is an exact pinpoint of where the orders are stacking up. And then the big bubble is the order flow event. Now, once we get in that trade, what would we want to use for potential targets? Well, we know the markets love the ping pong back and forth between levels. Look right down here. We have the HVL. So as we start getting into that trade and we start getting back above it, I'd want to target somewhere around that next HVL level. And you can see it comes in 25,674. So in this example, if we were to enter the trade right there, we can simply put our stop loss right below the swing point. So in this example, 602 down to about 593, that's going to be about a 10-point stop loss. However, how big is the potential target on that trade? Well, if we look 603-ish and we measure all the way up towards the next HVL level, maybe front run it by just a few ticks or so, that is going to be 69 points. So in this example, we can risk 10 points trying to make 70 points on that trade. Now, keep in mind, we can have the A plus setup and the trade can still end up failing on us. But let's look as the market comes up towards this area. Were there any other signs that we could use in Bookmap to know that watch out, we're probably going to come back down? And guess what? If we are below, if we get back below this blue HVL level up here, the 0 DTE HVL level, where do you think we're coming back towards? Right back down towards the lower HVL level and probably right back down towards the low of the day, because we are still within that support zone right down here that we drew out from the prior day. So as we come over real quick and we take a look at Bookmap, assuming that we got into the trade right around 603, let's just fast forward this real quick and notice as the market starts going up, this is something you want to pay attention to. Look at how the speed of the market changed. Look at how it was over here versus the angle which we moved up over there. Now that's going to be one clue that watch out, the move could be coming to an end. But then look right up over here. As we're coming up towards these highs, do we have a lot of aggression in the market? Absolutely not. And you can see we actually had a big bubble here, but one of the things as we were pushing up, did we get back below that big bubble? No. So we're still clear to go ahead and try to push back up. But then right over here, we kind of have a double top-ish situation and we're not seeing the follow through. And if we scroll this over a little bit, we can see the market ends up melting right back down, going all the way down towards the low of the day.